Why hello there, welcome to yet another Unreal Engine tutorial. Today I want to show you a cool little blueprint I designed. To show you exactly how it works, we're going to start by making a new zone. Grab this middle piece here and hold Alt and drag on either of the arrows. Minimize this. I'm just going to make this 1,000 and 1,000. So there's our zone. I'm going to put a new material on that as well. So I'm going to go to starter content, materials, and we'll just use a few of these. I'm going to make 3 zones here. One to the left and one to the right. Again, just holding Alt and dragging. And you can put any material you want on here. I'm just going to put 1, 2, 3. So here's how this is going to work. This enemy right here, he's just chilling over there doing his own thing, and the default setting for him is 100 health. As you probably already know, in a lot of games, enemies are a certain level based on where they are in the map. So if the game designer doesn't want you to go to a certain part of the map until you've leveled up a certain amount, then they'll have it so that the enemies in that zone obviously are very high level. So I'm going to show you a similar system to that. Now, I personally have a different way that I would want to do enemy types, which I will explain at a later date. But for those of you interested in enemies with experience levels and their health multiplying by that experience level, stick around. So here's what we want to do. We want to drag this enemy out. In this zone, this enemy will have a certain amount of health determined on the experience of the zone. This enemy will have another amount, and this enemy will have another amount. And that's what we're going to create today. Now, the first thing we need to take into account is difficulty levels. Some people want to play a game casually. Some people want to play a game like Dark Souls. Give them the choice. So let's go over to Blueprints, hop into Core, open up GM_tutorial for game mode. And we're going to create a variable here. This variable is going to be difficulty. And we're going to change that to an integer. And that's all we need to do in there for now. We just need a difficulty integer. The default I want to be 2. So we'll compile and save that. So the way I'm looking at it is 1 will be easy, 2 will be normal, 3 will be hard, and you can go as high as you want after that. 1, 2, and 3 are the numbers that we'll be focusing on. So now we need to give the enemy an experience level to base that off. So here, all we need is an experience level. So we'll add a variable here, experience level, and we will make that an integer. Compile and save. And we'll attach that tab up there. So those are the 2 variables that we're going to start working with. Next up, let's go over to environments. I'm going to count this as an environment. So right click, blueprint class, actor, B underscore environment underscore experience. This is going to function differently to the other environments here. So that's why we haven't duplicated it. And also for those of you who skipped the environment section, I understand that's not something everyone wants to do. Let's add a component, and that component is going to be a box collision. We're going to call this zone. Then we'll add a variable that will be zone size. Again, you'll remember this if you've done the environments. It will be a vector, so an X, Y, and Z coordinate. And we'll make the default 500, 500, and 500. Compile and save that. We'll also click on the little eyeball here so that if we have 3 versions of this in the world, they can be set independently, and we can set that in the world, which we'll see in just a moment. Now over to construction script. Let's drag in the zone and set box extent. Plug that into the construction script and plug in zone size there. Compile and save that. Over to the event graph. We don't need begin overlap or tick. We just need event play. Now we only want this to happen at the beginning of the game. We don't want enemies coming into the zone afterwards getting an experience boost or an experience downgrade. We just want the enemies in that zone to have their experience set based on where they start. So we need a do once. After that do once, let's get game mode. Cast to GM_tutorial. We'll drag the zone in and we will get overlapping actors, which, as it says, we'll just get all actors that it's overlapping with. And we can filter too. So let's go enemy base. So it's only going to get enemies that match that class. Then hold down F, click anywhere in the graph, and we will plug overlapping actors into the array of the for each loop. Plug in the executable and drag off of GM tutorial. Let's get difficulty. Now the next thing we'll do is add another variable, and this will be called zone level. And this will be an integer. We'll drag that in. The default zone level will be 1 because we don't want to be multiplying by 0. And then we'll drag off of that and multiply them. And then out of the array element, let's cast to b underscore enemy base. And we will set experience level. Experience level will be the zone level times the difficulty, or here the difficulty times the zone level. So that's pretty much that script ready to go. We'll compile and save that, and let's go back to the world, and we might as well drag those in there. 500 seems to be a good size. We'll just drag it up here so it's not cutting into the floor. So 3 zones with 3 enemies with 3 different results. Let's also pop back over and give the zone level the eyeball of editing so we can edit each instance. So here you can see that's popped up over here. We can change that number now. So zone level, this will be 1. We'll change this to 2 and we'll change this to 3. And this guy's going to be default 100. So this should be 200 and then they should multiply after that. Because remember, our default difficulty is 2, so equal to normal. And we set that inside of the game mode. Now, one last thing we'll need to do over in enemy base, we're going to create a custom event. And that's going to be called difficulty adjustment. Difficulty adjustment, we'll actually fire that off over here. Let's remember to compile and save that. So the event's saved on there. So when we call here, we don't get an error. And we will say difficulty adjustment. We will call that over here. As the script fires off, that will then come into the difficulty adjustment over here. So then we will take experience level and get health max. And we will multiply experience level by health max, which will then let us set health max over here. But then we also need to set health actual. And we'll compile and save that. And just so we know that it's all working, let's get a print string. We'll put the print string at the end of the script. And we will plug in health actual into the print string. So a common problem that we might have when we do things like this is that this is firing so quickly, but that by the time the zone is actually checking for the enemies, it can't detect them because they haven't even spawned yet. So to fix this, we'll just go delay. And this isn't ideal, but unfortunately, this is just something that happens sometimes. We'll make it a 0.1 delay. So that'll give time for the enemies to spawn in the zone before we set all of that experience. Realistically, the player's not going to know because the player probably can't shoot an enemy within 0.1 seconds, especially if the checkpoints in your game are far away enough from a group of enemies, which they naturally would be. Okay, so I just spent way too much time troubleshooting something that is so ridiculous. But anyway, here it is. So you might have a problem like this. See this spot right here? It doesn't look like it's overlapping, but you know what? It is. It totally is. So come back over to enemy base with the sphere selected. select the sphere radius, type in 750 so that your enemies aren't overlapping. Because even this guy at the front was overlapping with that zone, and so all the healths were being set incorrectly. The other thing I did was put a do once here for the difficulty adjustment, and I'll redo this for you now just so you can see what's going on. So we'll keep the do once there. We'll try it again with that later, but let's grab a print string. Probably could have kept it, but whatever. I'll do it from scratch for you guys. Print string, get self, append. Hopefully this is helpful if you guys ever need to troubleshoot something in the future. Add pin. I'm going to put colon and a space in B. Self will plug into 1 and it will go get display name. And that will refer to the number that the actor is. So you'll notice over here on the map how the second experience zone automatically gets a 2 next to it and the third gets a 3. So that will refer there so we can troubleshoot with each individual instance. We'll plug health actual into C and return value into there and there. So we can see exactly which enemies are actually getting their health boost. So let's compile and save that and hit play. And now our print string up in the top left, you saw it there for a moment. I'll just go and punch that in for longer so we can see it. Let's go 20 seconds so I can talk through it. Compile, save, hit play. So enemy base 2 is the one on the left over here. He had an experience zone of 1, so he gets health 200 because our difficulty is 2. Enemy base 3 behind the one in front there will go to 400, and enemy base 4 will go to 600. And if I was to walk up to them, if I aim at them and press X for scan, like we did in the last episode, and I shoot at them, you can see that that number started counting down from 200. If I aim at this guy, press X, shoot at him, that number starts counting down from 400, and over here, this number starts counting down from 600. And I accidentally hit this guy as well, which that's a massive zone. We'll have to come back and work on that. I think our line trace is actually hitting the sphere, so technically we're not hitting the enemy. I'll come back to you with that one. But basically our enemies are being adjusted for their health times difficulty. So that's all well and working. So hopefully that was helpful to you. Probably wouldn't have that problem in the future because ultimately you wouldn't have enemies in zone 1 and zone 2 so close to each other. Realistically, you would have a zone and then a checkpoint and then another zone and then another checkpoint, and they would all just be spread apart so you wouldn't actually get that problem. So let's leave it there for now, and we will continue on in the next episode. See you then.